Hello there. This is Bill Miles. I'm here with Kelly Notaras, one of my favorite people. And I'm so glad that you're going to join us for this live. I wanted to first comment that we're doing this through StreamYard. If you want to leave a comment and want me to be able to see it, you have to link your Facebook account. So you can go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and link it. And the comments won't necessarily show in the group, but I'll be able to see them and respond if you have questions. So we'll get to it. So let me just tell you a little bit about Kelly. Kelly Notaras is an author, a speaker, a book editor, and an entrepreneur with a luminous career as an editor at some of the best-known publishing houses. Her proudest accomplishment is her book studio, KN Literary Arts, whose mission is to amplify positive change in the world through the medium of books. KN Literary Art is an editorial studio that has helped over 1,000 authors get their transformational wisdom and stories onto the page and into the world. Needless to say, she knows a thing or two about cultivating a successful personal brand. In short, Kelly ignites literary dreams and births books. And I have to say, she's a pretty lovely person on top of it all, just the icing on the cake, or book deal. First got to know Kelly's writing talents through a few extraordinary articles that she wrote for Best Self magazine, which I co-published with Kristen Noel. But I really got to know her during a personal brand shoot for her business. I discovered her infectious energy, her larger-than-life smile, and a true professional at the helm of her thriving business. So I invited her to join me today because I know that she can bring some hard-won wisdom to help you evolve your businesses and brands, whether there's a book in your future or not. Right? That's you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So the first question I want to ask you is, you tell your clients that they should focus first on becoming a thought leader in their niche. I wanted to know, what does that mean and what's involved in building a brand identity that stands out?
Yeah. So, I get a lot of people that come to me and to the company because they have this dream to write a book. But usually it's tied into, as you say, like building a business, building a personal brand of some sort. And they think that, oh, the book, if I get a book out, that will build my brand for me. I just need to get the book into the world because then everything else will unfold without a lot of effort. And that's actually, I understand why people think that, but it's a total misconception. Basically, especially these days in publishing, you're not going to get a book deal. And even if you self-publish, you're not going to sell any copies of your book if you don't have that personal brand already established. And I call that, in my world, because we're talking about content so much, I call that becoming a thought leader. So you're out there, you are talking about the ideas and wisdom that light you up, the things that you want to be known for, that you're thinking you're going to write a book about. I want you talking about those so much that when you sit down to write the book, you don't even have a question about what you should be writing because you've already test driven it over and over and over again via your brand on social media, on your blog, on your YouTube channel, your podcast, the places, obviously, if you're doing the kind of book that I work on, transformational nonfiction, with your clients, like your clients and the people that are taking your online courses, things like that. All of that precedes a book. The book should actually be the capstone of years of effort, essentially, because once the book comes out, it's there forever. And if you haven't test-driven all of your ideas, your exercises, your stories, you haven't gotten feedback from real people about what they like about your brand, what they like about your message versus like what's not landing with them, then you could very easily put a ton of time and effort into a book when it's not actually the appropriate next step. So that's what I try to avoid people doing.
That is gold. And I'm sure that comes as a little bit of a surprise, maybe even a little buzzkill to people.
Yeah. People like to hear that.
They want to get their book out there and done, right?
Yeah, they want to get their book out there. And they also have, again, like I said, this idea, which I can understand, that once the book is out there, everything else happens automatically. And so it's like you have a book out there and then suddenly you're seen as a thought leader. Suddenly you are known. Suddenly your name is something that people are, they recognize. And that's the reason why people think that, is that they have their own favorite authors. They've got their own people that they spend a lot of time, following and watching. And their first introduction oftentimes is the book. But that's because the whole process of becoming a thought leader is like an upside down funnel, where you start off with just a few people who know you. And those people teach you about your message and your brand. They tell you what they want to hear from you. Then you parlay that to the next level and you offer something slightly larger, and you keep going and going and going. By the time you get to your book, I want you to be at the top of the funnel, because then that book is an entry point. It's a low price point item, doesn't take a lot of commitment on someone's part to purchase it from you, but it gives them a lot of deep experience with you. If somebody reads your book, that's hours and hours of their time in relationship with you. And so you're basically giving them a ton for not very much money, and that's a great entry point. So that's why most people think, well, I met this author who I love via her book, so I need a book so people can meet me. But it's like that's usually 10 years down the funnel from what you see, because so few people are really paying attention when the person's growing.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not necessarily what you would think up front, but yeah. Speaking of books, I just want to pause because one of our guests, Celeste, wrote and said that she's really psyched to be here, and she just finished reading your book.
Amazing!
Who are in the throes of publishing, in throes of book proposal writing. So thank you for doing this.
Great. Yeah. So
I want to mention what that book is of yours.
Yes. So I know that's what I was saying at the beginning when I accidentally said I should probably get. I have a book, and I don't have one sitting here with me. It's called The Book You Were Born to Write: Everything You Need to Finally Get Your Wisdom Onto the Page and Into the World. So it's really been, again, the capstone of my 20 years in book publishing. And it took every minute of those 20 years for me to know who my audience was, what they needed, and what order I should put it all in. But by the time I sat down to write that book, my brand had already been built. I already knew what my clients needed from me. I knew who my ideal client was, the one that I most wanted to help. And so I didn't actually have a lot of frustration or deliberation in the writing process. And that's one of the signs that I tell people that they don't really like to hear, that you're ready to write a book when you can sit down and write it. And it's not like, oh my gosh, what's the book about and how do I figure it out? All of that is really important information.
It makes it seem so easy and, not mysterious anymore.
I know. It's like what you already know. So you already know because you've been teaching it. You've been working with clients. You've been building your brand online. You've been getting feedback on your social media posts or your podcast. You already have all that information. There's a long R&D period that I'm imagining many of the people who are in your group are in right now. That is not a failure. A lot of times people feel like, oh my gosh, everyone's so ahead of me. People my same age are already these famous authors. I'm behind. And that's totally not true. You are exactly where you need to be. And it takes time, commitment, and deliberate effort to get to that place. Those people just started earlier than you. That doesn't mean that you're behind. They had to go through that exact same building process. They didn't, we oftentimes, again, we see people, suddenly they're best-selling authors and we think, oh, they've like sprung fully formed from Zeus's head like Athena. They were a best-selling author when they were born. And it's just not true. They went through the process that all of you are in right now. You're just in the process. So you can give yourself permission to be right where you are. It's where you need to be. And if you're doing that research, that's exactly what you need to be doing right now.
So all the authors are basically personal brands of themselves. So I'd love to hear about building that brand. We live in a visual world. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of good visual media for a successful brand? And also, can you share how that's played a role in your own business and some of your authors? And what happens if you fail to invest in this aspect of your business?
Yeah. Well, these days, especially, I mean, the channel to be connecting with people, which is how you actually become that thought leader, is you have people who want to listen to what you have to say. And so you have to put yourself out there and make yourself available to those people. And it's all visual. It's all happening on the web. It's happening on Instagram with your beautiful tiles or your videos. It's happening on TikTok with your video, your 1-minute videos. It's happening on YouTube. These are places where you actually have to really think about, what does the whole thing look like? How am I presenting myself? So you said when we got on this call that I'm not in my normal location. This is sort of my chatting location, but I actually do have 2 different sets in my home that you can find on my YouTube channel, because I want to have, and they look very similar. One was in my living room, and then I actually moved to a more deliberate set, so I don't have to put it up and tear it down every time I want to record a video. But they look the same because my brand is clean. It's sort of got a lot of white in it. There's splashes of color. It's sort of modern and contemporary. And so I've chosen that kind of a backdrop for all of my branding that I put out online. And that's what I would recommend all of you do. And the thing is, I chose my living room because my living room looks like that. And that's because I love it. So one thing that I think is really important is to just trust what you love. Trust what appeals to you. Trust what images and fonts and colors you really enjoy. Because again, in this world these days, we're really meeting our clients, our readers, our followers in the personal realm. So you're likely going to be attracting people who are attracted to the same thing as you. So you can trust that what you like is what you should go with. I mean, that's my take. I'm curious to hear your take on that, Bill, just as somebody who's an expert in that area.
Well, absolutely, you should go with what you like, because this is part of who you are. But what I love hearing you say is that you're very intentional about this. And that's what I want everybody who's listening in today to take away from this, is that it's not a random thing that you just decide this morning, I really got to get a video together. Okay, I'll just flip open my laptop and I'll do it. And if you've been part of my other lives or other conversations, everything I'm about is planning ahead. It's pre-production. Mm-hmm. And you hear Kelly, she's got a set. She said, this is going to be easier. I know that visual media is important to my business, so I'm going to make it easy on myself, get a set where I can just walk in and it's lit and the background set, and I don't have to think about it, so I can just focus on the content. And the point being that when you plan things out, you can spend less time actually worrying about shooting and more time serving your clients.
Totally. So, yeah. I'm wondering if I should show you all my set. Would you like to see it? Okay, let's do it.
We're all about visual here. That's why we're here. I'd love to see it.
I'm going to carry you over to my set. So this is sort of my office. What's that?
I'm getting seasick.
I'm sorry. Okay. So this is my office. There's actually where I do all my work over there in the corner. But here you can see is my little set.
And you even got lights. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I've got lights for sure, because I do a lot of live things. Mm-hmm. And I don't always get to choose what the timing is. And oftentimes the live situations happen when the lighting's not good in my house. So I have to have the lights, because then it makes it look good, even if it's the wrong time of day, quote unquote. So I'm turning on the lights now.
Let me just pause in there for those of you who didn't quite take that all in. One thing that's great, a lot of you may be using window light and natural light, which can be absolutely wonderful, but it shifts. Clouds come in, they go out, it gets dark in the evening, of course, and you may still want to be continuing to produce. So adding artificial light stabilizes everything and gives continuity and consistency. Yeah, go ahead. By the way, somebody just chimed in here. Oh my God, I needed to hear this. So good for you. All right, keep going. I'm not hearing you right now. Kelly. Somebody get muted?
I was muted.
There we go.
Okay, so there we go.
Good.
Here that usually I have a chair here, but it's all set up. So I just had to turn on the lights and come over here and, have my little set. Now, sometimes, oh, by the way, so here's my book. We were looking for it earlier. Right. Sometimes I'll have my book sort of sitting up here. It kind of depends on what the conversation is. So if I'm serving someone else's brand, I don't necessarily want to be like advertising mine here. But a lot of times I'm doing video podcasts, I'm doing things like this. And then it's invited for me to say, oh yeah, and I've got this book that could really help you. So I'll sometimes have that up there, but more often than not, these days, it's not up there. And I have my little plant. And then this is where I shoot all my videos. This is where I do I do these every so often throughout the year. I do a 7-day challenge with Hay House around writing your book. And I do all of that from here. And this is it's made life so much easier for me to have this little situation here. And, you always have to check and make sure that the little backdrop looks right. This backdrop I got on Amazon, folks. It cost me like $15. And it's just a fabric backdrop that looks like
people take note of that. That's I didn't even realize that myself until you said.
Yeah, there's a fabric backdrop, and in fact, it's like I have it in front of 2 windows. I have it pinned up to the wall, so you have to be really careful about where you position your camera. But yeah, I have it pinned up to the wall in front of 2 windows. I put up a black curtain in front of them so it didn't have funny light. But yeah, no, I mean, this is I can do this exact video. It would look exactly like this, whether I was doing it right now, which is 9:45 a.m. my time, or if I was doing it 9:45 p.m. So it gives me total flexibility to be able to make my videos any time of day, which is really helpful to me because I have to fit them in. Honestly, I fit them in when I have makeup on from the work from home life,
So let me ask you, I mean, you're obviously a pro, you've been at this a long time, but when did you realize, when in your game did you say, I'm just like stumbling through this. I need to get a set. I need to get lights. I need to just get my stuff tight.
Yeah. So I would say that it was very far down the pipeline. So as far as I'm concerned, let's say the whole pipeline has been 2020. Actually, I've really only been doing videos for a little over 2 years at this level. So I would say for the first year plus, I was doing it in my living room, in front of a window. I had to do it at certain times of day. But then the issue happened that I started working really closely, again, with Hay House, the publisher, and Reed and I would do these presentations and teachings, and we would fit them into our schedules wherever we could. And I started to realize that if it was 5 p.m. my time, it looked really different than if it was 9 a.m. my time. And at certain times of day in my living room, there was this shaft of light that came in from this window and it hit my face. So there were things that I couldn't control about that set. Yes. So at that point, when I realized it started to get more professional, and that happened again,
kind of
organically. What's that?
It sounds a bit out of necessity. You hit a point where it's like, this isn't working. I got to shift.
That's exactly it. And I'll say up until that point, I was just flipping open my laptop for a while. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it in front of a window now. And honestly, all I had at that point, somewhere around here, I have it, is a phone, an iPhone holder on top of a tripod. Yeah. And I would sit in a chair in front of it, in front of the window, and that's all I had. I was using audio straight from there. I was not even worrying about lighting. So again, you can start where you are now. And
you can start where you are now, but the point is to think about it, and the more you can get ahead of it, and not have to stumble your way and then realize you need something else,
right,
the better.
Great. And I'll say that this setup that I have now was not expensive. I mean, I think these lights, there are 3 lights. There's one behind me and 2 umbrella lights. I think that entire set cost me less than $100. Now, I will say that you're like, oh my gosh, deep breath. But I will say what happened was the bulbs, because I think they're low quality lights, the bulbs, I had to actually upgrade to these bulbs that cost like $35 each, that have like 1,200 lumens or whatever it is, because otherwise I wasn't getting enough light. So you probably pay on one side or the other is my guess. And you probably have your favorite setup that you like to recommend to people. And obviously I would like to know what your setup is, because at some point I'm going to upgrade and I want to know what Bill suggests.
I will help you with that. I'd be happy to. It's different for everybody. I don't have a one size fits all.
Okay.
But we'll say, we don't need to get too far down the tech path on that. But since we're on it here on this call, you do kind of get what you pay for. You do not need to invest a lot of money, but when you're at the low end, things can flicker out. The color can be inconsistent. They can go on and off. They can crap out. Cheap stands, they can fall over.
I mean, I have one right now that will not, like, one of my umbrellas is like this and the other one's like this.
Exactly. But you can make kind of anything work. So yeah, I'm a fan of figuring out first what it is you need, and then making an investment in only a few items that will serve you well.
Yeah.
And so then you don't have to think about, oh, well, do I need that? Do I need that? Do I need that?
Yeah. So
but I'm so pleased to have this conversation at this point. I didn't think we were going to go there, and it's great.
Yeah, there you go. Totally. And can I say, you had asked me in that last question something about how the visual has helped my company. So I just want to say that the thing that helped more than anything was having my YouTube channel. So again, I didn't know I was starting a YouTube channel. I just wanted to give myself some sort of a challenge to keep on track, to be in communication with my list leading up to my book launch, because I wanted them all to buy my book, right? So I needed to be in more communication. I'd been sort of like once a month, maybe twice a month communication for years. And then I was like, I need to be in contact every week leading up to my book launch. And so the way that I decided to do that was just to do a, basic video was my thought. Like, I'm just going to do a little video and say, hey, this is what I'm doing this week to get ready for my book launch, because obviously my clients are going to launch a book someday. And so they're going to want to know. I got so much positive feedback. It was nuts. Like, I am actually somebody who loves to be on camera, so it worked for me. And it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to do YouTube if that's not what you love. But I started to love it. I loved the feedback because I'm an Enneagram 3 and I love people loving what I'm doing. And so I decided I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do a video, once or twice a month. And that's what I do now. And first, it was just for my list, the people who had already decided they liked my brand, who already wanted to be part of my world. But then I was shocked, and this is what's so wonderful about the interwebs, that people started finding my YouTube channel based on their searches on YouTube for, I want to write a memoir. That was the main one. I want to write a memoir. And now I have 20,000 views on one of my videos that's about memoir. And that's way outside of my range. That's small potatoes for a lot of people. But for me, that was huge. I've got 600 views on the rest of my videos, but it was because it got found. Right. Yeah. And people got good information from it. And then the result of that is that they come back to my company. So for those of you who are building your brand in hoping people will come and become a coaching client or join your course or whatever it might be that you're offering, it works. I can really attest that it works very, very well. And
I actually watch almost all of your videos on your list, and I don't even have a book in my. Yeah, I do have one.
I was going to say.
But so it's I kind of take notes on these things. But and they're great. One reason I love your videos is they're fairly easy to digest. They tend to be not that long. They're 10, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that.
Yep.
And you kind of get to the point, and they're all very useful. But this is the advantage of when you get yourself out there in your visual media. There are benefits you can't even plan for it that come forth. And people see it, and you might get invitations to collaborate or to work on projects that you never would have gotten otherwise, and you don't even know these people. So the visual media is very important. And also, people make their first impressions of you before you can even speak a word about what it is you do. They're seeing what you do. They're seeing how you present yourself. What does your set say? What does Kelly's set say about her? What does my set say about me? You don't have to analyze it, but within 1-2 seconds, you have an instant hit of, do I want to learn more about this person? Do I want to listen to what they have to say? Everything is an invitation to go deeper with you. And it starts with the first second that they lay eyes on you. Then it comes to, that's an invitation to listen to my first few words. You like that, it's an invitation to maybe listen to 5 minutes. You like that, maybe it's an hour. If you like that, maybe it's subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's how we work. We don't think about it, but that is how the process unfolds. So very important there. Okay. So speaking of your brand, one thing I love about your brand is that you have a distinct personality that shines through at every touch point. In your case, it's fun, approachable, yet authoritative.
Mm-hmm.
How can people level up their visual assets and thread their personality throughout? You know, how do you advise your authors and so forth to really keep their unique brand image, their unique personality alive?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that there's something that's hard for me in the sort of visual world right now, because I do think that there's a lot of people who see the influencers out there on like Instagram and places like that who are all kind of doing the same thing. And they sort of look the same way. And it's very kind of like, oh, my life is so easy breezy, but I am so fabulous. And to me, that's, if you are that person, fantastic. That's what your brand should be. But I actually know some of these people behind the scenes, and that's not who they are. And that's hard for me, actually. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I really like authenticity. I want people to know me, right? Like, I want them to actually know who I am. This is me. You guys are getting me right now, and you get me on every video, and you get me in every blog. And that's what I try to do, is just be fully myself. Now, I'm not saying that, like, you know, every single day I don't know what you said, I was sort of like cheerful and fun or something like that. I'm not cheerful and fun every single day. I will say I probably track toward making my videos on days when I'm feeling more cheerful and fun, because it is part of my brand. And when I'm feeling more, one of the things that I know from just actually sort of like slightly segue, my brand you can see from what I do, but I also know what my brand is from the feedback that I get from people. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about putting yourself out there first before you start trying to create something to monetize in a really big way, because you will find out what your brand is. I didn't necessarily know, because it's just part of who I am natively, that people feel like I am the one who says, you can totally do this, that I'm enthusiastic and I'm affirming of people's journey and their decision to write a book and their decision to create their brand, et cetera, and become a thought leader. And I didn't realize that that was part of my brand, because it's actually so deeply a part of myself that I couldn't even see it in me, that I actually do believe you could do it. Why not? I don't see any reason why not. And so it's been interesting to put myself out there and hear what's useful to people, is that they say things like, I didn't know I could do this until I like encountered you, and you had that, like, you can do it vibe. So again, it's a really good thing to do, to start talking authentically from your heart about the topic that you are wanting to put into the world. And then you'll hear back from people what's useful to them about it. And then from there, you can kind of build on that. And it's like, oh yeah, people really like when I'm, you know, encouraging. So I'm going to write a poem from my heart about why you can write a book. And I'm going to, you know, put a big chunk of that content in my own book, because I want people that's what's resonating with people, but it's true for me. So keep it to what's true for you, and then look for what's resonating. And then that becomes the like sweet spot of what your brand should be.
Well put. That is so well stated. And it's very easy for us to get distracted by what other people are doing, right?
Oh my God.
And as you said,
rather people be themselves. And like, the thing about it is that, you know, there were, I don't know any, I'm not like thinking of anyone in particular, but there were certainly people at the forefront of this sort of current influencer like moment. And they were really being themselves. And then people started copying them. And so now you're kind of like, everything looks a little bit the same, but they got to be where they were, and for people to copy them because they were being themselves. So I want each of you to be a trailblazer. You will be the next person people are copying if you truly show up as yourself in your authenticity with everything that you have in your genius to give. That will be the thing that will end up generating followers and will end up actually taking you to the success that you're after, for sure. I have no doubt about it.
That is brilliant, because if you try and copy someone, you can't ever be as good as they are.
Right.
But you can be the very best in the world at you.
Totally, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Even people, you know, I have a lot of authors who say, I don't know if I want to put myself out there. Like, I'm a little nervous. What if people don't like me? And I'm always like, put yourself out there and tell people that you're nervous. Let them know that you are a human being, that you have insecurities, that right? It's like being vulnerable. That is the way that people will come to you and connect with you. So be totally honest about where you are and who you are, and it will attract followers.
Because you can bet that many of those people are in the same shoes.
Oh my gosh. And what's funny is that then it starts to actually bring people to you for the thing that you need. And that's why they say that we teach what we need to learn, because we end up coming with like all of our, flaws on display. And then people come and say, well, how are you doing it anyway? You're scared, but how are you doing video? You're nervous about your writing, but how are you posting a poem every week? And then you start being, it's like, well, I know how to do that. I can teach that. That's how all of that unfolds. That's how I got into this business. I had sort of gotten out of the book business, if I'm honest. And then people started coming to me being like, weren't you in the book business? Like, I just really want to write a book. And I'm like, oh, I can teach you how to write a book. And then next thing you know, I'm back in the book business.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's so good. All right. So for many, the process of actually creating video, live casts, and photography can be like super overwhelming. I get that all the time. That's why people come to me for help. And one thing I coach my clients on is to apply a system for planning out their shoots so that they can actually shoot less while getting more assets with better results.
I remember we did that together.
Exactly. My experience with you, we totally did that.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed because like you were doing exactly what I have people do, right? And I kind of helped you with it. We kind of did it together, but you already had come down the path with that. So I kind of want to just talk about or hear from you how you map out a shoot, the importance of identifying all the various assets that you could get out of a shoot, because you don't want to have a shoot every week or every month or even every 6 months. Right. Maybe you want to do a shoot once a year or every 6 months, once a quarter, whenever it makes sense for you, but stack on. And this is different from regular videos that we're talking about, staying in front of the social media. This is like doing like an image library shoot or whatnot. So how do you think through that, and what's going through your mind what are your considerations when you're producing a shot list?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about looking for what are the different components of the sort of brand that I'm using right now. So for example, I remember we shot some video footage that we were planning to use for our Facebook header. We knew, at the time, Facebook headers were really having videos was like the cool thing to do. It's a little bit outdated today, but we still have ours. But anyway, maybe have another shoot. But basically, I really wanted a video header, and so that was one thing that we put on the list. And then I looked and thought, okay, I need a new author photo, obviously, because one of the brand things I was doing at the time was putting my book into the world. So I needed a couple different options for author photos. I knew that I wanted a new header for my newsletter because I was doing a newsletter every week. So it was looking at things that way. Like, what am I doing? I was doing a YouTube channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, which is YouTube.com/KN Literary, you'll see Bill's photo of me at the top. I knew we were going to be doing this YouTube channel and I wanted to have a really cool header photo. So it's really just assessing, okay, what is it I'm working on? How am I putting my brand out there? Some of you may just be right now doing an Instagram feed. So what you want to do is get a lot of different images that would work for what you think your editorial calendar is going to be for the next year or a quarter or however often you're getting that shoot. An editorial calendar is a really good way to do this. And again, now I'm getting back into my editor mindset. An editorial calendar for your content, for your brand content, is really helpful to set at the beginning of maybe the end of 2020 for 2021 or the beginning of 2021 for the year, where you're just saying, okay, I want to send something out every Tuesday. That's my day. I want to communicate with my list via email every Tuesday. What is it that I want to talk about? Do I want to do sort of like January is, in my world, of course, I can give you our examples. January is self-publishing month. We're going to talk about self-publishing 4 times in January, in part because we're launching our self-publishing services. So we want to make sure people know, hey, we are experts in self-publishing and we have a service that we can do it with and for you. So you can start planning. Now, you might not be that far down the pipeline. I certainly wasn't 2-3 years ago. That's come on just recently. So you might not have something to sell with that topic. but maybe you want, in January, you're going to be probably going back to the gym. Let's hope we all get to go back to the gym. But like you're going to be getting back into your workout phase because you always do that right after the holidays. Great. So now you can plan out what you want to have some photos of you in your workout clothes, riding your Peloton, or, running down the street, because you're going to be wanting to use that content in January, or maybe just in general, your brand is about wellness. So you need to have shots of yourself cooking. You need to have shots of yourself eating healthy food, drinking a smoothie, going for a run, on your Peloton, playing with your dog, meditating, like whatever it is that is part of your brand. Like start making that list, and then you'll be able to slot it into your calendar once you have it and say, okay, we're going to really, in the third week in March, I'm going on a meditation retreat. So we're going to do a meditation piece that week, and we need a photo for that. So the more you're willing to and able to plan your editorial calendar, editorial here, I'm just talking about the content that you're putting into the world, the more use you're going to be able to make of your shoot.
Actually, that single concept, most people never create an editorial calendar, and it's not just for your content. It is kind of mapping out what your goals are. When you produce an editorial calendar, you're really setting your goals for the next quarter or the next year or whatever it is. And that if you don't set those goals and kind of schedule them, what is it? Marie Forleo says, if it's not scheduled, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's true. It just doesn't happen. And then you're just kind of winging it, saying, I haven't posted in a while, I think I'll post. But if you schedule it and plan for it and create the assets you need for it, this is what it takes to stand out. This is really, it's competitive out there. It's a very saturated market. It takes consistency, authenticity, and it takes planning.
Yeah.
But lots can unfold once you do that.
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
We're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I would say that up until 2 years ago, well, actually, let's say 3 years ago, I decided to write my book, and I had already had all of the experience I needed up until that point, that I had gotten an on the ground working with authors. I knew what they needed, right? But I wasn't really a brand yet, if I'm honest. I had a website. I liked the branding of our website, but I wasn't stepping out as sort of a thought leader. And that was because I had enough work coming to me through channels that were old contacts from my time in the publishing business, that I didn't actually need to do that. I needed to, and again, necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. The thing I needed to be doing I started the company in 2013. Between 2013 and 2017, we were just setting things up. Systems, payments, contracts, getting all of our editors, writers, and coaches in line, setting our sales people up. We needed to be just doing foundational stuff because my company kind of sprang into life because I got so many people coming to me from the Hay House Writers workshops. I had to. So that's where I spent my attention at the beginning. But then things really got cool. Like we were trucking. Everybody was super happy. Our clients were happy. And I realized, okay, now we have some time because we got all our functions set up to start stepping forward and putting the word out to a much wider audience. So for me, that's the progression of how it went. And because I already had the knowledge, I already had the experience working on the ground with people, I wrote the book first. And so I wrote the book, and then in preparation to get it out, I did the photo shoot with you. We got our Facebook pages up and running. I started doing the YouTube channel. I got much more consistent about sending a newsletter. And so it's really only been since then that I've become this sort of thought leader. And I'll tell you, it was a great way for my business to unfold. You could do it the other way, but you need to actually just start somewhere. That's the thing that I would say is the most important. So you might not be ready right now to do an editorial calendar for the next year, but maybe you could do it for the next month and just say, I'm going to send out something every Tuesday via my newsletter, and I'm going to post one thing on Instagram and Facebook every day. That might be a big bite to chew, but let's just say you've got that. That would be a great way to do, and challenge yourself. It can be really fun just to challenge yourself, to put yourself out there, and then you start getting that feedback. It becomes the process actually just continues on its own once you start. So I would say that's the most important thing, is to start somewhere.
I would also add that every one of you is a thought leader already. People don't know it yet, but you are. It's within you. You already have these original thoughts. It's what you're building a business on. You are a thought leader. The point is just getting your thoughts out there.
Yep, definitely. I often say that to people because people want to write a memoir, and they say, well, but who's going to want to hear from me? And I say, you're a celebrity to the people that already know you. So all of them are going to want to hear from you. And then if the book is really, really good, they're going to pass the book to their friends, and the circle widens. Each step, the circle widens. And it's the same with the branding. How many times have you gotten a post sent to you by a friend from someone who's a great creator on Instagram or TikTok or one of these, different platforms that are out there, and then you start following that person? That's how it happens. You put out great content, and you put it out with an authentic voice behind it, whatever your authentic voice is, and then people start sharing it for you because it's so good. That's what I want for all of you.
This is so good. Excellent. So we can kind of wrap it up at this point, but I'd love to post how people can find you.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So you can obviously, what's that?
I'm just going to put up your website as a starting point.
Fantastic. That's our website. The thing that again, because I talk so much about YouTube, I would encourage you to just check out the YouTube channel. You'll see what I've done. And that's at YouTube/KN Literary, just like that. You can also find it on our homepage. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see it. But again, that you'll see what we've done with our look, our feel, our assets. And I would love to hear from any of you if you have feedback around like, oh, this seems to actually work, but hey, this thing over here doesn't feel like it's on your brand. Like, I'm always interested in hearing from people. And that's another thing I'll say. Roll out the red carpet for people to give you feedback. It's not criticism, it's gold for you. So I'm available for any feedback anyone wants to give me with your branding mind.
That is so generous. And yeah, it's humble pie. Really, if you can just swallow that, you can just grow. You just have to let yourself.
Totally, 100%. Yeah.
Grow. And then I hope what you're taking away from everything today is that, if you don't commit to your visual media, you're kind of going to be relegated to staying flat and unnoticed. It's really hard to attract your ideal clients and get noticed if you are not producing visual media, photography, video, live casts, and they have to be at a certain quality. They don't have to be pro, but they have to be at a level that you can distinguish yourself and that you feel confident about. Yeah. And if you do, it's the gates to the kingdom, the keys to the kingdom, really, because then you can let your service flourish, and that's what it's all about. Those visual assets are kind of like, opening the gate. You have to get past that. So getting control of your visual media is if you want to be an A player, it's absolutely essential. And in terms of my work, if you ever want to talk to me about how I can help you with your business and so forth, you can hop on a call, and I'll be happy to have a free chat with you. And you can contact me.
I can highly recommend Bill. No, I'm serious. Like, our work together was so easy and fun. You made it like, I was nervous that day. It was the first time I'd had a photo shoot that like professional, and you made it so easy and relaxed. And I look at the pictures and I love them, and the video as well. So I can highly, highly recommend Bill as like cream of the crop.
Thank you. That's not why I brought you on, but thank you.
I know, but it's true. I'm just telling you I tell the truth. That's the truth. Yep.
So that said, I just want to say thank you for coming and illuminating us in this way, and I appreciate your time and wish you all the best. And I hope that you that are listening can up your brand as a result of this. And if you've got a book in the works, that Kelly can help you with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. It's been so fun. Such an honor to be here with you. Thanks to everybody out there.
Bye, everybody.